Let me do that again. Good morning.
Good morning, Shak.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Look at this.
Good
Everyone has,
morning.
look at all these people with their cameras on today. I just got to the second page, so now I'm kind of disappointed. All right, remember, it is a business meeting, seen and be seen. Like, look at Martha Knapp, Cape Cod, Jim Dickinson, Seattle, Gary Doss, Big Bear, Lake Arrowwood, Shawanda, Nashville, Tennessee. Learn from your colleagues here. Let people see who you are, where you're from, build connections, build relationships. Believe me, the Zoom is one time a week coming here. Turn your camera on and let people see you. It's a great way to build a referral network. But if you're in like the real estate coaching witness protection program with the black screen, know who you are, what you look like, and what you do, and how you can contribute. So that's my 2 cents for that today. All right, so we're going to get into seller client experience. So before we start, drop in the chat. When you think about client experience for a seller, what is it to you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Shrak?
When you think of a seller experience, what is a seller experience to you? Like, how do you define it? Anticipating needs, all about their experience, client for life, from the perspective of you as the person creating the experience. Understanding that's emotional, relieving decision, emotional and easy transition. I want to provide a four seasons experience, peace of mind, flow, education, delivering the best outcome possible and leaving them feeling mission accomplished, identifying their expectations, smooth, listening to their needs, reassurance. Okay, so ready? Supportive communication, making it seamless for them, not transactional, understanding their hopes, goals, and emotions. Good morning from Newport Beach. Good morning. A time of financial and emotional need. I try to make the process smooth and painless as possible, doing whatever I can to ease the process, understanding their needs, using 2 ears and one mouth. That's great, guiding them along the way. And Kristen's autopilot just joined too. All right, so there's one more. Full service with the client every step during and after escrow, put myself in their shoes. Okay, so do you want me to identify the number one glaring challenge I see? Every single person has a different view on what a client experience is. Some have defined actions within a client experience. Other people have done outcomes, right? Like, what is client experience to you? So client experience in its simplest form are the touch points, communications, and outcomes that you create in the process of working with somebody. The touch points and communications and outcomes. That's all that it is, right? Touch points, communications, and outcomes. And touch points, it's like, what are all the things we do? Outcomes, what are the outcomes of those touch points, right? And for some reason, my mind just went blank for the third one. On the touch points, and communication. And communication, right? How do you communicate with them throughout the process? So if you think about this, right, let's go back to the beginning. I'm going to set the frame. We always talk about framing. Let me frame this conversation with you. Somebody says they want to sell their home. You guys are real estate agents, right, that provide a luxury service. You're not sharks that live in the ocean looking for blood to pounce on things. So as soon as an agent hears, I want to sell my home, they're like, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. And let me look at the other side. Literally, when you go into somebody's home, this is the experience for somebody else. They have their motivations for moving, what they're most excited about, what their expectations and what the experience in partnering with an agent be like, their past disappointments that will impact their present decisions and their concerns. And we spend the whole time talking about all the things we could do for them. Then when they agree to work with us, we make all these promises, right? That we don't know how we're going to keep. They don't know how they're going to get them. They just know they're getting all this stuff. And then we go in their house and literally tell them that the way that they chose to live is wrong. Please remove the magnets off the fridge. the personal pictures, declutter all the surface areas. We need to take the things out. I have this Compass Concierge things because people love neutral homes. Let's paint your cabinets white. And all of a sudden they go along with it. Before they know it, the house that was their home that they're emotionally attached to now looks like something that they don't even live in anymore. It looks like a hotel room. And then from there, we have this whole haphazard process of photos and videos and marketing and stuff and stuff and stuff. Hey, can you meet the photographer? Hey, can you meet the videographer? Hey, 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 hey. Does this sound about right? You're overwhelmed, they're overwhelmed. And then from there, the house goes on the market. So the next thing that happens is we're going to invite a whole bunch of strangers who you know nothing about into your home and tell you to be comfortable about it. Then we're going to get their feedback. And then we do this next thing called the broker open house. The broker open house is even more special because they have this godlike complex as they're brokers with the buyers. And all these people are just going to criticize the way that you live. Does that sound like a fun process? And then every time your Ring doorbell goes off and a showing happens, you're like, is this my buyer? What happened? I need feedback. And then you're like, blah, 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 blah. And then this is the bane of client experience in real estate. Now, if this experience was in a high-end hospitality resort, would you want to pay 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 for this? Find me a yes. Anybody want to say yes? The outcome is no, right? Because the experience is equally, if not more important than the outcome. You can sell your home and bring unorganized chaos to these people's lives. Okay, so hit yes if this feels true. This sounds chaotic for them, but again, you guys are my community, gals, guys. Does this feel chaotic for you? Hit yes or no. The way I describe it, yes, Renee, this is reality. Everyone can't forget that I used to sell real estate. I've lived this chaos as well as you have. So here's the thing though. If we're looking at a corporate company, Bill, right? Would you ever hire the same person to be the salesperson, the person in charge of marketing, the person in charge of operations, and the person in charge of customer service? Never. But guess what? You have to be a salesperson, a marketer, a customer service person, and an operations person. So infinitely you're behind the eight ball, and that's why being organized is so important and having a system to follow, right? So when we dreamed of all this end-to-end stuff, it's like, hey, let's give everyone one system that's made that they can actually learn and master and make their own. I'm really excited. The whole second page turn their cameras on. So thank you all. And the rest of you, I still have hope. All right, let's get back to this. 0 to 1, are we all on the same page that this is an area that we can really improve? Write these words down: clarity through communication. Cindy, I still appreciate you being here. So here's the thing. No one wants, and this is the first myth to move on. No one wants a 24/7 realtor. Nobody. Unless you have like mental issues. And I'll tell you why you have mental issues. These are people that have psychological challenges that just have a need for reassurance on an ongoing basis. They're coming from a place of fear, and we can respect that. We'll also teach you how to use the tools we have to create a better experience for your client and a better experience for you. And also, it'll help you on your pitch to earn a full commission, whatever that is in your marketplace. And the people that want to work with you can work with you, and the people that don't want to work with you, they don't deserve to work with you. You're just not the right fit. Do you think Louis Vuitton and Chanel are the best handbags for everyone that wants to buy a bag? No, but they're okay with that. Imagine going into one of these high-end luxury brands and trying to negotiate their price based on the value that they share. They're going to say, if you don't like it, then just go somewhere else. Go to Kohl's and buy a bag. If you think the bag's a bag, just buy the bag. If you think the only thing an agent does is put your home on the market, put it on the MLS and pray that it sells, then there's thousands of people in your market. So another little thing to write down is figure out how many agents are in your marketplace. And like when people are tied to crazy stuff, I would say, there's 7,432 agents in Fairfield County. I'm sure a lot of them would be happy to work in this kind of way. But to me, I feel that it's irresponsible knowing that this is your largest financial asset and all the things to take into account to work in this kind of manner. I love the word irresponsible because irresponsible will prompt something in somebody's head. Like if they have kids, they know kids, irresponsible. What do you mean irresponsible? I don't know. Like if I manage your money in this way, like would it be responsible or irresponsible? All right, now let's get into the crux of this. Christine, that's great. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. 100%. Okay, now let me share my screen. Oh, wait, let me go through the other myths. No one wants a 24/7 realtor. People don't need information in real time. People are okay with boundaries, right? Well, you're setting the boundaries and communication plans, and everyone wants predictability, right? Like no one wants like non-predictability. It's like if you want the same experience as working with a contractor, that's just not me. So let's go in here and have this checklist for all of you. This is your whole checklist, right? So we're not talking about pitching. We're talking about after the pitch. So after the pitch, you need to update the notes in your CRM. Remember, every promise you make should just be saved as a task. Because if you create every promise you make as a task, then when you go into Compass, you could just hit the task buttons, can tell you all the things you have to do. You want to send a personalized note or video. Part of client experience is clarity through communication. So you send a recap email with copies of anything, including your pitch, marketing plan, communication plan, anything else. And the paperwork. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. After the listing is signed, what happens then? And to me, I'm going to just stop my screen for a second and just kind of ad-lib some stuff on here. This is where it all goes bad. A couple of us, after the listing sign, hello, Jody, what do you normally do? Not a trick question, drop in chat. I have one answer. Now I'm getting concerned. What do you do after a listing is signed? And we want to ask what's important in the beginning. Pre-marketing, set up a Google folder for them with everything in it. That's right. Outlining next steps. So here's what we want to do. Now, the first thing that we're going to want to do is obviously email all signed documents and everything else on our end, right? Number one, I would actually send them what the next steps are. So create your own email based on this. But then what I'd want to do, Jim, is I would like to actually set up a meeting with you, right? And look, there are so many different things to do, from creating a showing feedback sheet, confirming their day and time for the plan, the marketing calendar, an agreed upon communication plan, the equity protection program, a Google Drive that has everything, business tracker, right? And then when all those things are done, you'll want to send them their marketing calendar, communication plan, showing legal documents and everything else. And then I would set up a meeting with them, right? And I think the meeting's really important because if you look at all this stuff, it's a lot of stuff. And remember the perceived value and actualized value. They need to understand what you're doing for them. So in their mind that this big investment they make into you is worth it. Right. So if I saw a gym that, wow, like all the feedback is organized, my communication plan is done, they built me out a custom marketing calendar with tentative dates on it. You know, my home equity protection plan is done and how they're going to share that with other people's explained to me. Now they have a Google Drive that I can find anything, anywhere from any device, and they put it on my phone. They sent me a thank you letter with copies of everything that we have. Do you think that's a better experience to start out with somebody? Now, when you meet with them, right? Anyone want to guess what happens in this meeting? Takes less time. Review the med C and the plan we have. Expectations are set. Review the process, set expectations. Coordinating, confirming a Q&A review. They're less anxious. Okay. Now, there is a thing called aligned actions. Aligned actions are actions that are in alignment with what you say you're going to do. Now, are any of these clients of yours real estate professionals? No. So do you think before you go through home prep, photography, video, listing marketing, showing feedback, communication plans, a marketing calendar, bringing the home to market, those are 8 things I just met. Do you think that's worth a meeting in person? Yes or no? I'm looking for that no. By the way, people that don't want to work like this scare me. Because you already know they're going to blame you for stuff, right? The amount of time that you put into something up front saves you 10 times as much time out. Think about what coaching is. Now, I'm going to want to have a meeting with them and I'm going to want to take my next steps timeline, right? And say, hey, here are the things I would like you to prepare prior to the meeting. And when we go through the meeting, what we're going to cover is all of the things that we have listed, as well as next steps, and create a plan together that works based on your goals, expectations, and timeline. People have lives. Now, if you came to my house and sat down and gave me all this information, how many people have clients that have small children? A lot of us, right? How many people have clients that are busy professionals? And everyone has something in between, right? Here's the thing. These people all had fully packed lives before they decided to sell their home. This is all a lot of stuff that has high importance that they're not accounted for in their day. Have you ever noticed that you've communicated things something super clearly and then things just go off and then the clients are pissed off at you? That ever happened to anyone besides me? Right? Like it happens all the time. Yeah, clients that that live out of state, it's different because you're gonna have to do this all through Zoom. And if you learn how to do this out of state for the in-state clients, it's so much easier. So now you're going to go through all of this where the output of the meeting is a clear and aligned plan. You'll want to make a Google Calendar for them, right? And this is why I believe that everyone should have a way that they launch properties. Like if you have a home, depending, what day do you think is the best day to put a home on the market? Drop in the chat. When it's ready is not a suitable answer. So based on when you want to put the home on the market, you have to go backwards, right? You can't, if you go to any high-end service, you can't change the way that the service works and expect to have the outcome that the service gives you. Yes or no? Yes, right? You can't do it. So you'll want to have a launch timeline and say, look, whenever we do it, we work on like, week cycles, and here are the benefits of listing a home on this day. It's right before broker tour. We get a whole bunch of brokers in here. It gives us 3 days to market to the open house. It gives us this many to do digital ads and collect feedback. Like you need to like walk them through the benefits of doing this. But then when you're doing it, you can make a calendar. You could say, look, we do photos on Mondays. So we get them back on Tuesday. So which Monday works best for you? The people that are like, I just have to have my property on the market now. Why? Like, what is going to happen? Like, do you really want to maximize your equity, or are you just okay with or is the goal just to get the home sold in the fastest amount of time? Because these two things are mutually exclusive. You can't cheat us out of this whole process that we go through and then expect the outcome that everybody else gets that you're excited about. Do you see how that's in a benefit to them? So this way you can start organizing things. Then your days become more planned, right? Then you have more time in your schedule. Do you know how many times people are like, well, it's going to be hard to get to this coaching call at this time. Why? Well, I may have things that come up at that time. Why? How do you reset somebody that tries to get you off your process? That's a great question. So generally when people try to change the process, there's something that's important to them, right? And I would use the words and write this down. Help me understand. Help me understand what specifically is important to you about doing it this way, where you could potentially risk maximizing your equity by changing the whole process. Help me understand. And see what they say. Is that helpful for you, Diana? All right, so far I'm going to take like my survey says gut test. Is this, you can obviously hit yes in the chat. Has anyone felt that they've already found a way in their mind and something they're going to do to improve their client experience? Perfect. So we're on the right track, which I knew, but perceived value, actualized value, I could think all this is valuable, but unless you do, it means nothing, right? It works both ways. And then I want to explain to the people the whole aspect of a communication plan. Client experience is clarity through communication, right? So who's familiar with a communication plan? Right. So in there, it'll ask you what your preferred method of communication is. It'll then ask you, how often do you want to get communicated? Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or if you're a developer, sometimes it's called when you have an offer. Do you notice there's not a one that says real time? My name is Jack Bauer. I work like I'm in an episode of 24. That doesn't exist. There's no real time. There's no every day, because that is haphazard for your clients, right? Then you ask them, what do they want feedback on? Do they want feedback on the numbers of showings? Of course they do. Do they want feedback? Do they want information about the feedback from the showings? Absolutely. Do they want the results of your marketing, which is an insights report? Absolutely. And ultimately, do they want to know and kept abreast about any changes in the market? Absolutely. Right? So part of your client experience is framing this to them. I would say, Jim, these 4 items or these 4 areas, the number of showings, the feedback we collected based on both what buyers and agents think about your home, the results of our marketing, as well as the changes in the market, those are the 4 drivers to the largest financial decision that you can make in your life. Does that make sense, Jim? Now, then I think you could appreciate and understand if I shared one of them without the other 3, it would be irresponsible of me, because the last thing I want you to do is make a decision only on one piece of data when there's 4 and all 4 of them weigh equally. Does that make sense? Does anyone see what I just did there? Hit no if you don't see what just happened. You can hit no, it's okay. I'm going to use a line from, not to use this context, but from Usual Suspect. It says, the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world it didn't exist, right? And if you think about this, you're building boundaries, constraint, and you're training people how to treat you. So what I would say, I would ask them like, hold on, let me just show you this. Give me 1 second here. Okay, the communication plan, right? So what would you like? I would sit down and say, Jim, what would you like updates? Would you like updates on the number of showings? He says, yeah, that'd be great, Chirag. Great. Would you like update on the showing feedback from what buyers and buyers and their agents felt about your home? Yep. And market updates, right? Would you like updates on what's happening in the market or any changes that could affect the value of your home? Yep. And ultimately, do you want an update on the results of our marketing, right? And they're going to say, yeah. And you're going to say, great. You know, Jim, these 4 areas are the 4 drivers to potentially the largest financial decision that you'll make in your life. Does that make sense to you? And they're going to say, yeah. So any decision that we make is going to want to be made off of all 4 of these data points equally. So I think you can appreciate that it would be irresponsible of me to ever share one of these without the other 3, because the last thing I would want is for you to make a large financial decision on only one piece of data. And what we found with our past clients is that one piece of data also sometimes could evoke emotion. Does that make sense? Now, does everyone understand? If you're still no, hit no. That just means I need to get better. I need clarity through communication. So what I'm doing is getting them to stop calling you every 30 seconds for every question that they have. Now, the next thing in client experience let's see, I'll find somebody new. Isabel Haas, has anyone taken the time to share with you how showing feedback works? Do you think sellers understand how showing feedback works? Anybody? Has anyone here actually shared with their clients how showing feedback works? And if you have, unmute yourself. Margie, not that you share the feedback with them, you share how the process actually.
Yes, I do, because they always
Yeah.
want feedback, most of them, as soon as you leave the house. And I explain to them that, number one, I can't talk to the buyers. I can tell you the atmosphere while the showing happened, but I have to wait for their agent. And sometimes they don't give feedback to their agents, and some agents aren't as good as me, so they might not ask for feedback all the time.
Perfect. Margie, I get to hear your Boston love twice
Oh,
today.
God.
Good day. By the way, just so everyone knows that Margie and I have known each other for years. And one day she said to me, "You're just calling on me all the time because you want to hear my Boston accent." And I'm like, 100%, it's true. So Margie's a great agent out in the Cape. So I encourage all of you to get to know her. So here's what I would say. Has anyone taken the time to share with you how the process of showing feedback works? And they're going to say no. Would it be okay if I just took some minutes, some time to go through it, because it's something that's very important for both of us? Yes. And now again, you're going to want to frame the conversation, right? And I would say to them, when you were buying a house, at the end of seeing properties, especially if you saw several properties, what was most important to you to discuss with your agent at the end of the day? Drop your answer in the chat.
Chirag, can
Not
you
a-
please repeat the question?
Yeah, when you were looking at a home after seeing several properties as the buyer, what was most important to you to discuss in the time you had with your agent? They're going to share their own experience, right? I want to talk about the houses, maybe making an offer, comps, and everything else like that. I would say great. And at what point was it important to you as the buyer who's looking for their own personal home to share with you what they liked, what they disliked, and how they felt about the price of every home they saw? Ah, you see where we're going with this? So here's what happens. At the end of the day, when they leave the Ring doorbell and you're very excited about getting feedback, it's important that we get feedback in the right context. Again, like we shared, we don't want to give you one data point without the other three. Now, the next day, I call, email, and text, or over 2 days, to get information from the agents, right? And understand that some agents, no matter how much I contact them, won't ask their buyer for feedback for the sole purpose that they don't want to take their client's time or define their relationship by asking for information that could help another person sell their home. And it's not in line with their goals. Then there are other agents. We have tons of great relationships with both our Compass colleagues and other agents, and they're happy to provide the feedback as a professional courtesy. And then there's groups that there's no feedback, right? And then, excuse me. And the third form of feedback is an offer. It's what the market is saying your home is worth. So I just want us to be aligned that the following day, I'll start to collect all the information. I'll update it in the Google Doc and text you that the feedback is in there. And when we have our weekly calls on Mondays at 6 p.m., I'll go through the showings, the feedback, the market updates, and collections. You can ask any questions. Everything will be prepared in advance. And then we could have a question, and then we could have a discussion on a high-level strategy on what we do going forward. Can we all do this? Yes or no? 100%. By the way, it's like I would say for ourselves here at CSC, this is like one of the greatest magic tricks I've ever created in my life as a real estate coach, because people are like, oh my God, my clients stop calling me all the time. When the Ring doorbell goes, if they call, they start saying, I know, Margie, I'm supposed to wait, but I'm really sorry, but I wouldn't send it automatically. I would organize it all into a Google Doc and I would share it with them. Let me see if I can find this for us here. And there in our documents, there is a showing feedback form that we can organize everything in there. Let me see. All right, so now we're at the point of like bringing the home to market. This whole process is done. You've done the calendar, you've shared everything, you're communicating with on a regular basis, right? Are we all good up to this point? If you feel lost, right? Lost, it's important to know too. Can't go on a tangent, but I think client experience should be simple. Jennifer, anything new will feel like a fire hose. But the goal is to learn one part of this at a time. And really, it's just getting organized and doing all the things that you want to do in a clear and transparent manner where both people know what you're doing and you're driving the process. The checklist will be attached to the recording of the document with any of these other docs or forms or stuff that we've made that are helpful. All right, so now as you're going through signing of the listing, it depends if you're a 1 or 2 step closer, right? So there's option 1, you close on the spot. Option 2, you close after the appointment. Option 3, you go back for a second time. And that to me really depends who you're selling against. If you're selling against me, you want to get the appointment on the initial meeting because I'm going for close. Okay, so now the client experience you've engineered is obviously you've med-seed them, you've done all the right things, you've got the agreement signed, there's a Google folder, a business tracker, everything is set up, right? But now I've shared with you all those little nuances of creating a 5-star luxury client experience. Now, doesn't this feel more curated? Doesn't the seller feel more catered to? Don't they know where all the touch points are and everything else? Every document, for clarity here, that we've talked about in here will be attached to the recording. So when our team puts the recording up, we'll put all the supplemental things in there. All right, so look, now the house is on the market. So you're going to be doing your weekly calls and everything else. Doesn't this get much more easier to manage 3, 5, 10, 15 clients? Now what happens when it goes into making an offer? Now, as the home goes on the market, I don't know, I don't think this is on our list, but it's one thing to them that I would get very clear on in the beginning. What else is important to you, if anything, Renee, about terms? What else is important to you outside of price? Are there any terms or things that you'd find valuable? And then you'll find back if I could rent back for 6 months, if I could do this, if I could do this, if I could do this, right? So now when you're sharing, now when you're having offers, you can share, hey, here are the things that if an agent asks, is there anything important to your client? It says, overall price is number 1, number 2 are these factors. So if you want to add them to your offer, by all means. But then the clients also start seeing more value in you when you start getting them all the little things they want, right? So that's the offer process. Then everyone should have their own process of reviewing offers. And please, for the love of God, do not take these offers and just forward the emails that the agent sent to you. Don't download this and say, please review offer. Yeah, Jim, right? That is not unreasonable hospitality. That's like putting a child in a room with a bunch of toys and saying, figure it out. They're going to come to all these conclusions that you don't need them to come to. So you're going to want to say, hey, I received an offer. When is a good time to meet? Perfect. I'm going to send the offer in advance of our meeting. Please review and ask any questions. So prior to the offer, do you know what else you send with the offer? An updated market analysis. So there are 2 things that we want to highlight in this market analysis: what your neighbors are willing to accept for their homes and what other buyers are willing to pay for their homes. And today, let's review how this offer fits into those 2 criteria, along with your goals and expectations. That's a good email right there. So they should pull that. Let's see, 40 minutes into it, you should pull this out of the transcription. Now the offer's accepted, right? But while you're going through the offer process, do you think the seller knows what happens after an accepted offer? No. So you'll have to start going through with them at this point. I would say, Tamina, regardless if we take this offer or not, can we take some of the time we have here to go through what happens after an offer is accepted? Now, this is where I feel the biggest the biggest opportunity for improvement is in the client experience process. It's once the contract is signed to closing. You do realize like these people have to pack up their stuff and move out of a house, which is just a nightmare. I remember in my life, and I'll never forget how difficult moving is. I told a friend that I would help them pack up half their dorm room after going out all night and partying. I never thought in my life in one of these little shoebox dorms, how much stuff is there. I'm like, good Lord. And you look at packing up a room, a closet, a kitchen, and then you're in there, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So the next thing is once the contracts are signed, you're going to want to set up a meeting. Now we all have our what's next checklist or a moving checklist or make a checklist or borrow one from your friends. We can't make moving checklists because they're all market specific. If you want to discuss next steps before receiving an offer, you can. But the thing is they're going to say, well, why are we doing this now? We have nothing. Right? So you want it to be fresh to the time that they have the offer. Now, here's your opportunity, right? So remember, everything we're doing has been in the calendar. Like we're creating a customized Google Calendar for the photo, the decluttering, this stuff. Every time a showing happens, yeah, they'll get a showing time notification, but make a Google Calendar invite and add them in it so it shows up in their calendar too. Right? So it's not disorganizing their lives. And now you want to make a moving calendar. You're going to want to take moving from an 8 to 12 week process. And that's generally done in the last few weeks. Do you ever notice that people are scrambling to pack their home up and have it broom cleaned and swept? It's crazy. So you're going to want to work on a timeline. Says, look, our job is to send you any of the recommendation, resources, and essentially be the project manager. So we're going to build out this timeline together. Here are the things that we know need to happen in general based on the transaction of real estate and the closing date of this. But now let's add in the things that are personally important to you. And then you're going to want to layer those in. Then you want to get clear on the days that they happen. And then from there, you build it into a Google Calendar where I would say, Corey, between now and our meeting next week, these are the things that need to get done. This is what we're going to review. And each week, we're going to review what you need to do for the following week. Again, is this a different client experience? Do you think you can charge more money for this experience than your competitors? Drop a dollar sign in there if you feel you can. I'm going to be the first one. I 100% would charge more money for this. It's like the difference of like Motel 6 and the Ritz-Carlton. Now, here's the other question. If somebody asks you, if you did this whole process, is it clear to you what your agent did in exchange for the compensation you paid them? I think the answer to this question would be yes. Don't you? And you go through that all the way through. And yes, you have to build in some email templates and stuff. And this is where experience mapping really comes in handy. I would take our checklist. We've accounted for all this stuff, but you still have to make it yours, use it the way that it is, and have to understand it. So take time going through the checklist and everything else. So I wanted to leave 15 minutes today for Q&A. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. And remember, there's a difference between a great group conversation, like great group question. There's still 100+ people here, and an individual conversation. Well, I have this client with this one situation. What do I do? Remember, today we're focusing on process. So who has a question? What does experience mapping look like? All right, let me show you what it would look like. So you can look at my glass here, right? Now, post it. Glass in your Compass office, right? Go back to the office, they have these lovely conference rooms. And I would start mapping it out. So who asked that question? Jim, let me unmute you. What's up, buddy? You got to unmute.
Good morning.
All right, perfect. So I would write the experience I want somebody to have, right? So I would say after listing signed. I would list out all of the things that have to happen, right? Then I would say bringing the home to market, I'd list it out. See, what happens, everyone, is when you're using it like this, your brain will process this as the individual information on here, so you'll be very focused. But when you put multiple things in, you can look at the whole experience. So what you're doing in this is accounting for all the things that you need done, as well as figuring out where the gaps are, right? So once you start looking at this, you're like, oh my God, this makes sense to me. Most real estate agents think in the context of their personal checklist.
Right.
Not like the whole client experience. You're like, oh wow, if I sent an email here or a touch point, or this should be moved over here, it starts to make sense. So I encourage everyone here to find a buddy within an office that's within an hour and do this together. And by the way, if you're in an office with somebody else, just remove the idea, well, they're in my office and they're not your competitor. In the end, you'd rather have two people that have better processes together, and then they're going to choose the one they like and whoever communicates better.
Chirag, is it helpful to do Covey's principle of start with the outcome in mind of I want them to feel this, and this. Now let's build a process above that.
No, because I'm giving you the process, right? And you're just going to map it out and figure out where the email templates and stuff. So look, when you're looking at these touch points, right, you can then write what the outcome experience and everything's like. But if you do that, you're adding on like 5 to 10 layers of mental complication that you just don't need.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next question. If you have a listing manager, Jennifer, what does a listing manager do?
Good morning. She helps me coordinate the photographers, the floor plan people. She'll coordinate sending the client then the disclosures, sort of the back end stuff. Any of the contractors.
So the big thing is role clarity is really important. You don't want, if you have a team, you don't want them just to think it's you. So introduce them in the beginning.
Okay, thanks.
No, we don't have a PDF doc that includes all the beautiful framing. But that's a good thing. One of the things we will do over the course of the year is we're always looking for ways that we can bring these sessions to life. So as the year goes on, probably in Q2, we'll have somebody here that will be able to take the nuggets out of these things and put all the framings in. But if you give me a list of frames, Cherish, I can share them with you and you can use them in your accountability group. And I still have to call you, so send me an email, please. Chirag@ChiragShahCoaching.com, and let's get a call for this week. What does everyone feel about seller preferred term sheets? What is that? That's something new.
So obviously in the Jersey market, we're having multiple offers left and right. Normally I put together a preferred term sheet and upload it to the MLS or send it to agents that share interest once we have one offer in. So just kind of closing timeline, if they need a UNO, expectations of the inspections they want, whether they want limited inspections, things like that.
Anything like that that highlights your process, what you do and how it shows up for somebody and how they can collaborate with you is better. Because that, to me, I don't 100% understand it because I'm not in your market, but I do see the value in it just at the high level that you communicate it. So I would be sharing with the clients, like, one of the benefits our clients enjoy the most is their seller preferred term sheet. I just said shit.
Same thing. Same thing.
Sheet. We're all human. So I would say like it highlights these 5 to 7 distinct factors. As you know, there's many, multiple offers, and these are the benefits of it to you. So 100%.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? You still have 10 more minutes. And if not, everyone could get some time back into their day. Well, Tamina, and then everyone drop their biggest win. Like, what is your action item that you're going to do in the chat? Go ahead, Tamina.
So my question is actually like operational. You know how you have the end-to-end checklist? Is there, how could I take that and have that automatically sync into my calendar? I'm trying to figure out actually how to utilize that effectively. So
There's
for
no
example,
automatic, there's not an automatic way for a list that we made to sync with a Google product. You'd have to work with somebody to figure out.
so would I
those
have to put that into like an action plan? So that way it shows up automatically, like if I click off, if I
Well,
click
I
off
would
the task
build-
or,
I would build my own custom Google Calendar, right? I don't know how you can duplicate Google Calendars, but I'd at least build one calendar, and then I would add and edit the things as needed.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. The past sessions stay on the site as long as you're a member of the community. So you have access to everything. And it's for the time that you're in the program. So they're not going anywhere indefinitely. We don't delete them. All right, everyone said yes before. We had like 50, 60 yeses. Get very planned and purposeful on what the activity or action or the update you're going to do for your businesses. Number 2, put a time block on your calendar to actually get it done. All right, any other questions? Going once, going twice. Sold. Well, look, keep dreaming. In Unreasonable Hospitality, they call these cowboy hat ideas, these crazy ideas you come up with. Don't be afraid to push the envelope and ask yourself this question. If the concierge at the Four Seasons was a listing agent, what would they do for their clients? Force yourself to innovate and grow. Right? So we have 7 minutes and we'll all be back here for live prospecting. So I highly encourage all of you to come back for some live prospecting. It's the difference that makes a difference. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ping my team now and make sure that all the things in here and resources are added to this recording so everything's easy for you to find. And when whoever finds a Google plugin, please do share. I think it'll be very valuable for the whole group. Bye, everybody.